Hello, Service Learning students. 4th of July week is upon us, and we also have a milestone in our course. A couple of things that I wanted to touch base with you about very quickly that relate to the course. One is that we post midterm grades today by 5 p.m., and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. And the other thing is that obviously we're working on submitting our final major project, or I should say the final draft of our first major project, the major chunk of our course, our formal proposals. If you were to look at our schedule, you would see that today we're in Lesson 9, and what you'll see in the lesson notes for today is that I'm asking you to do the readings but not do any quizzes. And I've posted a couple of videos from a couple summers ago where I summarize those chapters. And so that's because you are working on these final projects. I really want you to focus your energies on submitting the final draft of your proposals. And also 4th of July is coming up. I'm aware that many of us have plans. So it's an intention to sort of clear the plate for you. We've been working very hard on doing these readings and the quizzes. It's an attempt to clear the plate for you so that you can concentrate on that final submission of your draft or final submission of your proposal, but also so that you have a little bit of a break today going into the 4th of July holiday. And then when we come back on Thursday, we'll hit the ground running and have some additional elements then. And so that's the basic schedule. And if you look on Monday of next week, so this week you have your final proposal is due. I will open a lesson on Thursday with some additional information and notes. On Friday you have your final forum. You have your Friday forum due, and you need to submit the final draft of your topic proposals. And then on Monday we start Unit 3, which is Connect with the Community. Let me flip to the syllabus real quick here just to address a couple of things. First of all, if you remember our syllabus, the basic structure of the course is prepare, build, connect, reflect. So the first couple weeks of the course we were preparing for service learning by finding out about each other, about our interests in our communities, and sort of exploring some problems that might need some addressing. Then now we've been building these service projects by doing these proposals. The formal proposal is where you do all this work. And so I've posted several screencasts now, and I've posted really detailed notes in the turn it in part of your assignments. And you should know that those 4 parts of the proposal, the formal proposal, all deal with building your project, telling us who you are, what the specific need or crisis or issue is in the community, how your project is going to address that, the inquiry-guided learning part, and then the annotated bibliography, which illustrates the sort of research and background you've done on this. So those are the basic structures. So that's the basic structure of the course, and I mentioned midterm, and we are obviously in midterm. Actually, midterm occurred last week, and so today we're required to submit midterm grades, and this gets to the other part of the syllabus I wanted to point you towards, because I think many of you, if you look at your official midterm grades, are going to be kind of upset. We've got 6 people working consistently in the course right now, and several of you have not completed the quizzes. For whatever reason, I gave you extended deadlines. We've done a couple of things. I don't know why it is, but several of you have chosen not to do the quizzes, and I'm assuming maybe you didn't do the readings too. So this is a big chunk of the course so far, going up towards the part where we do the project. So your grades are going to reflect this. Very, very low grades because you have not completed the quizzes or the forums. I do not yet have the Friday forum points figured in there, so there will be those points. But so for those of you who have very low grades at this point, you should be working harder to make sure you're completing all the assignments. That's why we have the checklists in every lesson to make sure you're not forgetting anything. But hopefully when you go and look in the grade book, and if you look at your midterm grade on my CSC, those of you who have low grades, those of you who are failing, hopefully you'll be in touch with me so that we can figure out how to turn this around by the end of the term, by the end of July. And there is time to turn it around because, look, here in the syllabus, The major portion of the course is the service learning. And so as I was pointing out in that building up to your project, now this is where the rubber hits the road. So hopefully those of you who are staying with the course will now button down, and you will work very hard on trying to earn as many points as you possibly can, beginning with your formal proposal due on Friday, which is worth 200 points. 4 sections, very detailed instructions in the handout, very detailed feedback from your instructor. You should be able to do well on this project. If you are not completing the annotated bibliography, many of you had not yet done that in your rough drafts. That's worth a lot of points. Make sure that you do that. Make sure you understand how to do that. If you have not fully completed the ALPS plan on page 31, this appears in section 2 of the report, or section 3 maybe. The ALPS plan. It takes you in some detail through every element of the project. Action learning plan, right? That needs to be filled out in detail. Your proposal needs to have all these details worked out, timelines. I put comments on all these proposals, so make sure you review those very closely. And if you do all that, you should be, doing well, and it's worth a big chunk of points. It's worth, 60% of the course is wrapped up in this project. Then, beginning next week, if you go back to the schedule, it says Unit 3, Connect with the Community, right? So that's what we're beginning next week. You'll see a lesson posted on Monday. Right now we're trying to finish up this first part, Unit 2, where we've put forth our proposal. Starting next week, there's going to be less readings. There's going to be less online activity. You are supposed to go do your field work, okay? You're supposed to go do your projects. That's what happens in Unit 3. Then, towards the end of the unit, you will be submitting your progress report. This is progress reports are due on the 19th of July, and usually somewhere within there we'll have sort of a rough draft of your progress report. So progress report involves filling out all these forms. We'll talk about this next week to document your actual service. This is where you do your actual service. There's 15 hours of service required. This is where that happens in this portion of the course. 100 points available there. Then finally, the final report, the last 2 weeks of the class, basically, you take all your experiences and you put them together, including elements from your proposal, including elements from your progress report. It all comes together in this final report. We'll talk a lot about it at the time, but the final report is worth 300 points. It's a big deal. That's where the learning in the course and the reflection and the inquiry and all that sort of stuff that you've already read about in your service learning text about deep reflection, all that is supposed to take place. You'll go through what happened that went well. You'll go through what happened that didn't work well. That's kind of the key element of the course. And I've already posted several examples of those online from previous summers, successful final reports. I want you to take a look at those. I want you to think about this as being your primary sort of goal as we shift at midterm here towards doing the project and then writing about the project. That's where we're at now. So you still have plenty of time to pull this together and really be successful in the course. A lot of points are on the line. If you have questions about your midterm grade or your grade book at this point, can't come and talk to me, although we're having virtual office hours today. Contact me and we will work it out. Okay? So here I am in unit lesson 9, and I wanted to just point out a couple things for today. I've already stressed this enough, I hope. We've got these screencasts about the readings. You're not required to do any quizzes for today. But I did want to point out that there's a space in today's lesson for submitting your final proposal, your final draft of your proposal. And there is also, now that we're transitioning into that Unit 3, into that actual service part of the course, now you need to complete what I call a field study agreement. And this is an official document from Chadron State College for students who go on any sort of field trip or service trip. On Monday of next week, when we have the unit open where you're actually off doing your field work, I will have some more resources posted for you, including photo release and other information like that. But now we're going to actually go and be doing service in our communities, you're going to be interacting with people. And so we have to make sure that we're all very cognizant of the idea that you are Chadron State College students, you're representing the college, and so your conduct and your behavior has to be governed by Chadron State College policies, and that's outlined in the field study agreement. And it also has liability information in there and all that sort of stuff. So it's very important that you complete this field release. You cannot do your service work until you have the field release completed. I set it up as a type of quiz. You review the information. It's like a service agreement that you do on your iPhone or something like that. But please, in this case, actually read it. It's important. If you have any questions or concerns, or if you don't feel like you can answer affirmative to the agreement, then we need to talk. We need to have a conversation about how we might accommodate your issues or concerns. Having said that, we'll talk more about this next week, but as you're getting ready to do your field research, keep in mind that there's a lot of planning that's involved when you're working with other people. We've been reading about that in learning through serving. And so make sure your timelines are nailed down. You have to work with a community partner. You can't just do this on your own. The community partner has to sign off on your service logs. And so you have to make sure that they're available in the next couple weeks. We only have July left in the course. So if you do not have these things lined up, and it has sunk many a service project in this course, I can tell you from experience, you will run into problems. So make sure you have made those contacts. Make sure you have made the arrangements. Don't wait on this. We're submitting our final proposals, but all that sort of element that is part of the actual proposed plan of action, that needs to start taking place starting next week. Enjoy 4th of July. Read Behold the Dreamers. Have you been reading this? I hope you're really enjoying it. It's a very engaging novel, and I think with all the conversation that's going on in our country right now, it could not be more timely. I think you will agree. The immigration debate and all that sort of stuff is very fascinating to read and be a part of this conversation in a course like this, where we can sort of explore these issues in relation to some of the elements we've been doing with service. And so read the first third of the book and be posting your questions on Friday. Submit your final draft of your proposal. Contact me if you have questions. Otherwise, enjoy your 4th of July, and I'll see you when we come back on Thursday.